And we continue at 1:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, residents in Hermosa Beach are fed up because there is a pack of wild e-biking teenagers terrorizing people.
Remember back in the old days when that used to be the Hells Angels?
Well, and the Hells Angels used to be in their maybe early 20s. These are 12-year-olds.
Now it's guys named Trevor. 800-222-5222 is a telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. She is an investigative reporter with The Current Report. You can read her online at thecurrentreport.com and follow her on X at Cece Woods. Cece Woods, welcome.
Welcome. How are you?
Good. Well, thanks so much for stopping by.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, let's get to California's Attorney General, Rob Bonta, who is, for whatever reason, willing to put himself through a public flogging as he sits down in interview situations where he tries to explain just exactly why he spent $500,000 on a white-collar criminal defense firm for money that he used from his re-election campaign. Initially, he said that he did that because he was trying to assist the federal government to root out criminal wrongdoing in California. He then went back on that and said, oh no, he spent the money because he needed to do that to have adequate representation as a witness in an investigation and potentially the victim of a crime. But he was never really able to articulate just exactly what information he knew or how he might be a victim in the commission of a crime. These nonsensical interviews make no sense to me. They make no sense to the people I've talked to who have seen these interviews. In the case of the person who was conducting the interview, Ashley Zavala of KCRA seemed just as confused as the rest of us. What do you make of what we're seeing right now from Rob Bonta and his ties to the Dong family in the Bay Area and the former mayor of Oakland, Sheng Tao?
Well, what I have discovered in the multiple articles that I've done is that there's a lot of money changing hands, specifically through donations. And the common denominator here is the money going back and forth, and that gives certain privileges to certain people. And there's no question within the circles that I have, that I run in, and the people who assist me investigating my stories, that Rob Bonta is in deep, deep, deep trouble. And you don't spend $500,000 on a criminal attorney to defend you if you're a victim. So, we're still investigating, and the FPPC filings, the donations, they all tell a story, and they're right there in front of your face if you know where to look. And thankfully, I have people that I work with that know where to look, and it just unravels the story more and more. So we're still learning about what's going on with the Duongs and the criminal attorney that he spent $500,000 on.
I went to school with a bunch of people who ended up becoming district attorneys, U.S. attorneys, judges in the legal profession in one way or another. And I've asked the question, have you ever heard of a situation where someone who is a witness or a potential witness in a trial was forced to spend $500,000 in representation as a witness? And the answer to a person is no.
Absolutely not. I mean, you could look at any number of high-profile cases just in L.A. County alone. The only people that are spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars are the people who have to defend their case. Not, it's to defend you, not because you're a witness or a victim. You don't spend money on criminal attorneys if you're a witness or a victim. You just don't. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't understand how Bonta thinks that we're not going to understand that. But, they've been very successful gaslighting many people. So I think they just kind of keep their story looping around and hoping that they're not going to get found out. But it's not going to be the case when it comes to me and the reporting that I do. Whatever we find is going to get reported.
What do you think the motivation was to do a sit down with Ashley Zavala? Because that interview, to my eye, was a complete train wreck for him. And if you didn't think that the guy looked suspicious before, there's no way you could watch that interview and not come away with that impression after you finish the entire thing. She knows what she's talking about. Clearly, there are people who know more than we do, who are feeding her information because she was the one that came across that $500,000 expenditure on the criminal defense attorneys. Why in the world would he sit down with her? What do you think was the motivation for that?
He obviously thought he could, worm his way out of it. He really did. I think he underestimated Ashley, to tell you the truth. So, I mean, if I were his handler, I would tell him stay far away from her. And clearly, he doesn't have the right handlers.
Well, beyond that, he's also fanning the flames of the rumor that he's going to jump into the governor's race. It's one thing if you're knee deep in scandal and you're trying to stay out of prison, or you're trying to keep your day job, which he would have to run for re-election to win another 4-year term as attorney general. So that's not a given. Wouldn't you try to keep your nose down and try to stay out of the spotlight? But it seems like this guy is perfectly willing to jump right on the national stage and become a candidate for governor of California.
It's very interesting because I've seen and heard of other candidates that are in deep, and they think that they can just deflect the attention by saying, oh, I'm really a good person, that's why I'm going to run for this office. And I just literally saw the same type of a post on X with Michael Trujillo. He's a Democratic strategist. And he was talking about the same thing, moving around the positions and switching, like with the Board of Supervisors, and how Solis wants to go here and this one wants to go here. They switch positions to think that they can get away with gaslighting the public into, oh, well, I'm good enough to run for governor if I was AG, and maybe we'll forget about the $500,000 that they just spent on criminal attorneys.
Here's the problem if he jumps into that race. Not only are more reporters and more muckrakers digging into just exactly what your history is, what your past is, those sorts of things, but he would be running against at least one billionaire candidate in Tom Steyer, who, if he opted to spend the money on opposition research, could dig into all of these dealings and take the skeletons that are in the closet and have them dancing out on the front lawn. And it's not just Tom Steyer, but if Rick Caruso decides to jump in the race, Rob Bonta could have two billionaires who have every reason in the world to take him out, digging into every aspect of his past and putting it all in the town square.
I agree with that, and it doesn't even take billions to do it, because I've already done 4 articles in the last week on Bonta and his donations and where they're going, and there's other reporters like Ashley who are doing the same. So they don't even need to spend their money on this. It's coming out whether he likes it or not, and if he is definitely going to run for governor, if he's throwing his hat in the governor's race, I can tell you right now, I will be, like a rabid dog on digging up as much information as I can. And I'm sure Ashley will too, and other reporters that care about getting the truth out. So I don't even think it'll take that money. I think people are just going to start squawking and they're going to start digging. That's my take on it.
Rob Bonta said in that interview with Ashley Zavala that he was informed by the feds that he was not the target of this investigation. That is the same thing that former Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao said as well. And of course, we know that her home was eventually raided by the federal government and she was charged with federal crimes. Do we know who the target of this investigation actually was? And do we know if Bonta's telling the truth?
No, I don't. Well, I personally don't know as of this moment. Not that I don't want to do more research to find out, because I will. But I have heard from other sources up in San Francisco area that he is 100% the target of this investigation. There is no, as a matter of fact, I don't remember the reporter's name, but I believe it's voicesofsf.com. And she is the original reporter that released the information on the Duong family connection in 2024, July of 2024, the Duong Bonta connection. So she is the one who's also been putting out there that he is 100% the target. And again, if you're just now up to 500,000, you're probably going to be spending a lot more. You know, you've got to be the main target. That's a lot of money.
He said in his interview with Ashley Zavala that he doesn't expect to spend any more money, that whatever information that they wanted from him, he gave to them and he satisfied their requests. Do you believe he's telling the truth when he says that?
I don't believe he ever tells the truth, like most politicians. So, no, I don't believe that. Not for 1 minute.
What about his wife? Because his wife took over his assembly seat in the California state legislature. She, in her career, has been closely tied to her husband's and to the Dong family ever since she became a public person. Do you believe that she could be someone who's being looked at right now by the FBI?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you just look at the money that's just floating back and forth between her assembly accounts and these donors that are, being investigated. It's a round circle. It's just like it's a pipeline that just keeps going and going and going. And, her committee accounts, you can see all the money that's floating through, the gaming, everything. So and the Duong family, same. So it's not, like I said, it's right there in front of you if you want to look for it. In the FPPC filings, the donations, the tracker, it's right there. You can see everybody's name. You can see what they're donating. You can see who they're donating to. So you put them together with the contracts that are out there, and, you got yourself a story.
When you talk to people in Sacramento, movers and shakers in Sacramento, when you're conducting your investigation, you're gathering your research, what is the feeling? Is the feeling that this is something that's going to blow over and he'll be fine and he's going to have a long political career? Or is the feeling like, oh my gosh, something's going to drop, we just don't know when, but it's going to be big and it's not going to be good?
Well, like I said, that one reporter who originally released the information about the Duong family connection, she and her people have said he's going down. And anybody who looks into just even the stories that I've written and maybe digs a little further, it's pretty obvious. He's in big, big trouble. Big trouble.
Rob Bonta was not initially elected to be California's Attorney General. He was appointed by Governor Gavin Newsom to fill a vacancy. Historically speaking, you don't get a big-time appointment unless you were thoroughly vetted by the person who's giving you the appointment. Do we know how thorough that vetting was? Because if he was up to no good going back to his days in Oakland, in theory, this should have come up during their background check on him.
Yeah, well, look who the governor is. So I don't doubt that there was some dirty dealings going back and forth between the two of them.
What's going on right now? Speaking of the governor, his former chief of staff, Dana Williamson, has also been popped by the feds. She's being charged with crimes related to government corruption. He is keeping her at arm's length distance right now. He's not giving her a full throttle defense. He's not throwing her under the bus. He's essentially saying, I'm so surprised. I'm shocked to be hearing all of this. I couldn't be any more surprised if you woke me up in the middle of the night and told me. What do you see happening in the case of Dana Williamson? How much trouble is she in?
I really don't know how much trouble she is in because it just depends on who's running the investigation. And, I've seen other cases where we think that they're going to get taken down and they end up not getting taken down. So I don't know who's in charge of the investigation. If it's somebody who is under the former Biden administration, I doubt she's going to get in trouble. If it is somebody who's been, under the Trump administration, then I feel like it's going to go somewhere. But I've seen it all too often, including in a local federal case that we had with a deputy, that it was under the former Biden administration, and he was just getting screwed. And when Bill Haley finally came in, the table started turning and going in the right direction. So I'm hoping that we have some Trump-era investigators that are involved in her case.
When you take all of these incidents and you package them all up, none of it is a good look for Gavin Newsom, where you have his handpicked attorney general who is right now looking at a story that he would, I assume, like to forget. And then you have his chief of staff who's been formally charged with a crime by the federal government related to corruption, including specific acts that were performed while she was working for Gavin Newsom. None of this is a good look for Gavin.
No, it's not. It's not a good look for him, but he's been involved in so much scandal for so long now, it's just par for the course, don't you think?
Well, what's odd in a one-party state is that typically people just look the other way. The attorney general's office looks the other way. Many of the local district attorneys look the other way. The press looks the other way because you're dependent on the party in power for information, for endorsements if you're running for office yourself, for money if you're running for office yourself. And if you upset the apple cart, then the help gets turned off. They turn the spigot off. So everyone just puts the blinders on and they see what they want to see, and that's it. And in my experience, when that happens, people tend to get sloppy. And then when you have a new government that takes over in Washington, D.C., and they're in charge of the Department of Justice, and you're doing unethical things, maybe even illegal things, and you're being sloppy about it, that's when it hits the fan.
Yep.
And it feels like that.
I totally agree with that. And that's why I was saying if we have a Trump-era investigation team with the Williamson case, then, I'm way more confident. If we have Biden-era, we're screwed. So that's I've just been watching it. With every case that I report on, I've seen it over and over again. And it just depends when either the judges, when they were appointed, who they were appointed under. There's so many moving parts to whether somebody's going to go down or not, and who needs to protect that person or who that person has protected in the past. It's not about justice anymore. It just is. It's not.
Cece Woods, investigative reporter for The Current Report. You can read her online at thecurrentreport.com and follow her on X at Cece Woods. Cece Woods, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me, John.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. The Fix California Hour continues in moments. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, now that we've crossed the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcast. Now, that could be the Apple Podcast app. It could be Spotify. It could be iHeart. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You could download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. That's what George Gascon does because he's been unemployed for about a year now.
Do a Google on YouTube.
You can get the free KABC app. You can get the free KSFO app. You can get the KMJ Now app because we're on that station Saturday at 2 and you get room on your phone. Download all the apps. What's the difference? Search for The John Phillips Show and you can get it wherever you want. And you can listen to these shows at the beginning of the day. You can also listen to them at
the end of the day.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. Oh my, this is a big one. Get those dialing fingers ready. 790 KABC welcomes Guns N' Roses, the World Tour 2026 at the Rose Bowl on September 5th, 2026. Tickets are on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
Guns N' Roses, huh?
Yeah.
I've got a fun fact about Guns N' Roses.
Is the client going to like this?
Probably.
Okay, then go ahead.
You're only allowed to take one through TSA.
Good for you.
Let's open up the California Crime Blotter.
Let's do that.
It's happened yet again.
It's Wild Wild West out here.
It's the California Crime Blotter with John
And Randy.
And Randy, the first installment takes us to downtown Los Angeles.
We're going to downtown LA where a woman thought, okay, if I walk my dog at 6 a.m., that means that I'm probably safe. The sun's starting to come up that early. Maybe the coyotes aren't going to be around. What she didn't realize was she was in downtown LA, and that would mean that she was inevitably going to be attacked and assaulted by a homeless person.
If you're playing the odds, of course.
For more, here's a report from KTLA in Los Angeles. Wait, that's redundant. KTLA.
Violent attack happened in the heart of downtown LA.
And tonight, police are searching for the man responsible, hoping to catch him before he strikes again. A surveillance camera captured the terrifying moments. The victim says it all happened very quickly, and it could have been much worse had a stranger not intervened.
Tonight, she is sharing her story as a warning to others. Carlos Salcedo joins us live from downtown LA with more. Carlos?
Mike, share a disturbing story out of downtown LA. A woman was attacked by a man as she was walking home with her dog. Now, this happened last.
I'm going to guess small dog.
I can't think of a time where someone got beat up that bad in downtown LA that wasn't Shaquille O'Neal with the ball in the paint.
Now, this happened last month, but tonight the sexual predator, he is still on the loose. She is sharing her story with KTLA to now raise awareness. An early morning walk in downtown LA has forever changed Tara's life.
He grabbed me and I was pinned against the wall.
Tara asked that we not show her face for safety reasons. She shared surveillance video with KTLA of the attack that happened November 8th across from the convention center just outside a high-rise building. As she was walking her small dog, she noticed a strange man getting too close and making weird noises.
He came up behind me, pushed me up against the glass, grabbed the back of my neck and my crotch area.
Oh boy.
This is eerily similar to what happened to that beautician down in Long Beach. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
And I was screaming for help.
That was back in the Gascon days where the Long Beach City prosecutor refused it when they tried to kick that down to a misdemeanor for, and I'm sure you remember the charge, John, vandalism.
Oh, yes, because in George Gascon's mind, a woman's lady parts is the same thing as a vending machine with Kit Kat bars.
We got some wobbly knees allies.
I was screaming for help.
It was around 6 in the morning, and her cries for help went unanswered. She finally managed to break free.
That's when he hit me and tackled me to the ground.
They go out of the camera's view. That's when a good Samaritan finally stepped in, coming to Tara's aid.
He was kind of on top of the guy, and he was just hitting him in the head over and over and over until he...
And he still wouldn't stop? That's got to be meth.
Oh, this guy is on all kinds of drugs. If you want to know what he's on, you better get the periodic table out.
And he was just hitting him in the head over and over and over until he was able to get him off of me.
The predator got up and walked away as if nothing happened. Right after the traumatic incident, Tara says she called...
Is that person in Karen Bass's inside safe?
Oh, yes, that's an unhoused Angelino.
It's our neighbors.
Right after the traumatic incident, Tara says she called police, but it took them more than 2 hours to respond.
Well, at least they didn't tell her to fill out a form online.
A woman at 6 a.m., mind you, was almost raped in downtown Los Angeles. And it takes LAPD 2 hours to show up and take her statement.
Sounds like they're right on top of that.
That is an embarrassment.
Right after the traumatic incident, Tara says she called police, but it took them more than 2 hours to respond.
It took about 2.5 hours for them to come. They came, took the report, took a few pictures, said that I would get a follow-up email. And
here's the difference between living in the city of Los Angeles and living outside of the city of Los Angeles. This woman was nearly raped, called LAPD for help. They showed up 2.5 hours later. When I lived in Burbank a decade ago, my car got broken into. They didn't steal anything, but I could tell my car got broken into. We called Burbank PD, and I'm not kidding, they showed up in 5 minutes.
Well, think about any other aspect of life. Let's say your air conditioner breaks, and you have a company that you've been doing business with for years, and you call them and tell them your air conditioner breaks. If they don't put you on the calendar that day, you move on. In what world is this acceptable, particularly when we all pay a fortune to live here?
Said that I would get a follow-up email, and nothing ever came of it.
Did they even file the report?
It sounds like nobody down there cared.
If they take her statement and she never got the follow-up email, does this crime even count in Karen Bass's crime is down statistics?
No, because there was no arrest that was made. There was no arrest that was made. There was no report that was filed. They don't even have that. I guess they'll just have to wait until he rapes the next one until they respond to it.
The attacker was long gone by then. LAPD says it's an ongoing sexual battery investigation, but have not made any arrests.
He's probably still out on the streets. Who knows? Even that same morning, I just feel like maybe if someone could have come sooner, they could have maybe found him.
Tara is now sharing.
Also, think about this. We're talking about what's supposed to be one of the most densely packed parts of the city. And you have a woman screaming bloody murder at 6 a.m. and no police around, no security around.
Well, and here's the thing, too. If the guy is out of his mind, which is what it sounds like is the case, it's not like they're going to run away because they don't even think that they did anything wrong. Why would you run away? You just saw an attractive lady and you did what you wanted to do, and that's how the world works. If the cops would have shown up in a reasonable amount of time, my guess is he would have been in the neighborhood and they would have been able to throw him in the back of a black and white. But if they don't show up, you can't do that.
Tara is now sharing her story to raise awareness and help other potential victims of sexual assault.
Well, now I am no longer outside by myself when there is nobody around. I always carry mace. I have a stun gun. You just have to be prepared.
Well, I do hope this guy goes after her again because she's ready now.
Well, but he just ruined living down in downtown Los Angeles for her, because the entire point of living there is that you could walk to the Starbucks and you could walk to pick up your newspaper and that you don't have to get in a car to go to the grocery store. Everything is just a few blocks away. But if you feel like it's not safe and that you can't walk to the grocery store or the Starbucks or to get the newspaper, then why are you living in a concrete jungle? You can live in a part of the city that's a lot prettier than that. You put up with the concrete because you have access to all the stuff. If you don't have access to the stuff, there's no point in living down there.
I love walkable downtowns. I love being able to not drive and go from place to place. I would never in a million years do that in Los Angeles.
No, because of things like this.
And Tara is grateful for that Good Samaritan who came to her rescue. Tonight, the LAPD telling us the suspect who is unhoused, he's still out on the streets. Anyone with any information on this case is encouraged to contact the LAPD. Reporting live tonight from downtown LA, Carlos Salcedo, KTLA 5 News.
There you go. Still
All
on
right.
the loose.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. And right now it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
It's happened yet again.
I see. Time for the California Crime Blotter.
And Randy, this edition takes us to the South Bay.
In Hermosa Beach, residents have had it with e-bike and tweens.
Little bastards are wrecking the community.
For more, here is Fox 11 in Los Angeles.
Local teens riding e-bikes accused of multiple attacks in local beach communities.
Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf, he's live there in Hermosa Beach, where a middle school principal says some of those attackers attend his campus. Matthew.
Well, there was a public forum tonight where dozens of people were able to ask city officials anything for the first time. And tonight they kept talking about teens and e-bikes.
Okay, I love this. This wasn't even a forum about e-bikes, but because this is the number one issue in Hermosa right now, every resident's like, what are you going to do about these jackass little bastards?
Okay, this may sound like a stupid point, but isn't the entire concept of a bicycle for exercise?
Why, yes. Yes, it was.
Okay, if you put a motor on them or they're electronically powered, what's the point?
Well, now they're a de facto motorcycle and there's no age restriction, so you have preteens that are acting like they're in a biker gang.
What's wild to me is that we live in a state that lives to regulate us to death. There isn't an aspect of life that Sacramento hasn't regulated. Yet we have the Hells Angels with pimples running amok and no one does anything about it.
You remember how a year ago the California Air Resources Board decided to start a program with cap and trade money, one of the reasons gas prices are so high, to give out rebates for e-bikes because that was going to take cars off the road? How many cars do you think got off the road, Johnny?
0.
So all those rebates went to parents of spoiled-ass teenagers who bought them e-bikes so they could terrorize their community.
Seems about right.
But the fact that we have two self-identifying gangs of electric bike riders who are 12, 13, 14 years old.
Outrage and
they're calling themselves gangs. That's fun.
Do they call themselves the Sharks and the Jets?
Outrage and confusion spilling into a crowded Hermosa Beach forum.
The kids that were arrested spent Thanksgiving in juvie.
Residents demanding answers after a violent teen attack left a 56-year-old man severely concussed.
And I hope everyone that was involved in that terrible attack will be brought to justice, all of them.
Well, they're teenagers, and this is Los Angeles County, and the last thing LA County wants is another lawsuit because someone got assaulted at Los Padrinos, so nope, that's not happening.
You'd be lucky if they got detention.
Last week, Fox 11 was first to report on a group of teens near the Hermosa Pier shoving, punching, and stomping on a 56-year-old man until he lost consciousness.
Okay, where's the parents, and why aren't they being put in prison right now?
Okay, that's not a prank. That's a violent attack.
That's a curb stomping.
There are groups of individuals that gather together and they kind of develop a little bit of a mob mentality, but they're not defined as a gang.
They define themselves as a gang.
Yeah, but in the eyes of the law, we can't prosecute them that way because then they'd actually have to do some time.
Police Chief Landon Phillips speaking exclusively with Fox 11 about the case, answering questions about an Instagram post made by his department that said the attack wasn't targeted, but rather the victim walked past his intended destination to initiate contact with the kids.
Wait, so that makes it okay?
None of this makes any sense at all.
We're going after the victim who got beaten to the point where he was unconscious by a bunch of 12-year-olds?
And my guess, by the way, is that everyone in that community hates them. So if there's going to be any interaction between the kids and the adults, it's going to be negative interaction because the adults have had enough.
A statement many interpreted as victim blaming.
What we wanted to do is try to address some of the misinformation that was being put out on social media. So that was the goal. That's what we were attempting to do. And we understand that it didn't exactly come out exactly as we'd hoped.
What the hell, Hermosa PD?
It's a relatively safe community, and now they have this going on everywhere. It's hard to hit the curveball sometimes.
Teens from the assault now confirmed to attend Manhattan Beach Middle School.
They're scrubs.
Well, at least we know who they are, so go find them and do something about it.
This is not a low rent area either. These are rich, spoiled ass kids.
Okay. The law is limited in terms of what they can do to these kids because they are minors. And in deep blue California, good luck trying to get the courts to see them as adults. There's only one way to get them to knock this off.
And what's that?
The parents of these kids need to beat them. That's what needs to happen. Not take away their devices, not tell them that they're not going to be able to go to Maui to the Four Seasons Hotel over the Christmas break, not alone time or whatever the hell they're calling it now. The belt needs to come off and you need to go to town.
The principal in a lengthy email to parents urging conversations at home about right and wrong.
Oh, come on.
As detectives continue to review video recorded by the teens themselves, so far 2 arrests have been made while rumors swirl about possible parent connections to the city. Do these kids...
Uh-oh. Is that what's going on here?
So someone knows a council member or someone is the child of a council member. Is that what we're talking about?
To the city. Do these kids have any sort of ties to council members or police officers in the city of Hermosa Beach?
As of right now, we don't have any information that shows that they have any connections to...
As of right now.
That's not a denial.
Any electeds, any city officials, any city employees.
These scenarios of groups of kids harassing, please call the police department when that happens.
Neighbors now concerned about their own safety, calling for some sort of change in the South Bay.
Clamp down more on regulation.
Again, so far 2 arrests have been made in this case, but police say they're still investigating. More arrests could come. Reporting live tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
So there you go. The unruly gang of tween bikers on their e-bikes openly assaulting people, videotaping it, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
Okay, parents, it's up to you to do your job. The government is not equipped to deal with something like this. You are. Get your little bastards under control. And you know the parents, even if they're appalled at the behavior of their kids, they're not going to turn them in because if they severely beat a 57-year-old, they theoretically could be sending their kids to jail. And no suburban parent is going to do that. In the old days, yes. Now, no. So get your kids under control. Tell them to knock it off. All right, we got one more hour coming up on The John Phillips Show.